We interrupt that story for live coverage now on News Channel 8.
Coming this afternoon.
Montgomery County School Superintendent Joshua Starr holding a news conference to explain how child abuse allegations are handled. Let's listen in.
Recent specific situations. So as a superintendent, an educator, and the father of 3 students in our schools, my top priority is the health and well-being of our students. This includes ensuring that any allegation or suspicion of child abuse is handled appropriately and thoroughly. In my 3.5 years as superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools, I've seen our schools and offices handle these matters appropriately. A vast majority of the time, we get it right. However, recent incidents have caused me to believe that there is more that we can do to improve our processes and procedures. The safety and well-being of our students is too important to accept the status quo. Recently, I have taken a number of steps to improve how we monitor and report allegations of abuse. I have created a work group that includes staff, community members, and representatives of the police, Child Protective Services, and the state's attorney's office to review our regulations, policies, and protocols and help us develop training and resources. This builds on our already strong relationship and collaboration with the police, Child Protective Services, and the state's attorney's office. I appreciate their partnership and their commitment to our children. Among the other actions that we have taken, last month we held training for all of our principals to reinforce our protocols that we use whenever there's an allegation of abuse and to review the expectations for communication with parents. This follows up on training we did in October 2013 in partnership with the police and Child Protective Services, which reviewed protocols for monitoring and reporting allegations of abuse. We have implemented a robust centralized database in order to monitor employees against whom allegations have been raised, even if the police chose not to investigate or charge them. We are changing our expectations with regards to background checks for employees of contractors who work in a school building. State law requires only a sex offender registry check for these employees, but we are now requiring fingerprinting and full criminal background checks. While we already do training on recognizing and reporting suspicions and allegations of child abuse, I feel like we need to do more. We will require additional training of all current and future employees. It is my expectation that all MCPS employees will take this training before the end of the school year. I firmly believe that all Montgomery County public schools are safe environments for our students and our staff. I am committed to continuous improvement in this area and working with the police, the state's attorney's office, and our community partners to make sure we have the best policies, processes, and procedures in place. Thank you. I will now take a couple questions. And again, if there are specific things regarding some recent situations, Brian can handle anything on the specifics. Yep. During which period of time? So again, Brian, you want to address any of this? It's right in there within, right, as we clearly state in there, in that timeline, there was proper notification of police regarding that situation. Which part of it? So as we clearly state in what we provided right there, that's the timeline of the events that occurred.
Mindset being 2020 with the extra pace and also creating pace, what do you wish your staff did better?
So my staff is working incredibly hard every single day to make sure that kids are safe and secure in school. We have a deep commitment to continuous improvement in Montgomery County. And as I said, we can never accept the status quo when it comes to the safety of our kids. So as these recent incidents have arisen, we've said, let's take another look. Let's make sure, let's work with our partners as well, with the police department. Let's bring in, with the state's attorney's office, with experts, with Child Protective Service to say, how can we possibly get better? We have a very large school system. We have 23,000 employees. We have 154,000 kids. And we have to always make sure that when an incident occurs, we are following the absolute best practices, and I am making sure that we will be doing so. So there are, as part of our normal procedures, we always debrief any incidents that happen, and when we debrief that, we take a look at, whether or not certain things could have been done differently, and we do that with all our incidents, and we will continue to do that to see where we can improve our practices. Other questions out there? Over here.
So he was in the schools, what, 5 years or so. How do you think about his?
And when you say his, who are you referring to in particular? Mm-hmm.
So in that case, he had a couple years recently, and then a few years before as a substitute teacher, and one of these allegations goes back to 2004. How do you think about what might have happened, or are you troubled by the idea that he was in the schools for this amount of time and not noticed as a problem, or that there wasn't?
So in the most recent incident that occurred, when it was brought to the administration's attention, as you see from the timeline that we have provided, we immediately notified our police officer who was on the scene, right, an SRO. And so we followed procedure in terms of notifying the uniformed officer who was there. What happened after? So you can see from the, I actually don't have that right in front of me. I should have a copy in front of me, but you can see from that. Right. Correct. Right.
Why was there no desire to notify the parents after this all took place? And really, it was only until there was backlash from ex-junior communications that
So I would not characterize it as no desire. What I'd say is we are constantly trying to improve our communication procedures, and as the principal clearly acknowledged, that she wished that she had done so in hindsight. The number one priority of our staff is always the protection and well-being of our kids. And sometimes when issues, and this, this may happen different times, sometimes when issues are resolved with the child and with the child's parent, the principal may not have thought about, we have to notify everybody else, so we are training our folks, we are improving our procedures, we are reinforcing the notion that we must always be communicating with our parents. And in this situation, while that was not done initially, I do believe that the principal did exactly the right thing, and then saying, we should have talked to the principal, to the parents about it. And she was very clear and upfront and transparent in her decision making, and I give her a lot of credit for it. Yeah, so I think in these cases, right, in any case, it is easy to try to pick apart every single particular of one case to try to cast aspersions on a large and complex system, right? And while we are constantly looking at every case to see how we can do better, we are deeply committed to continuous improvement. And there are times when we will say, we could have done something better. What I would like to reinforce is the idea that we know that we have to look at our processes and procedures. We have put things into place to do so. We are going to be upping our training and doubling down on our efforts to make sure that we're communicating with folks and we're training everybody, because we do believe that there are always areas where we can improve in our processes and procedures. So rather than pick apart every particular situation. Again, Brian can address the various particular situations of this. We are using it as an opportunity to say, you know what? There are situations where we can do better, and I pledge to do so.
Even with 12 additional victims,
It's not a question.
You mentioned a task force has been formed and you're working with the police department, but have the police department actually attended any of the task force meetings to date?
I have to check the attendance list. I do not have it in front of me, but so I don't want to misspeak. But I have to check the attendance list to see exactly who was in the room when, and I don't want to. Do we have?
say to the 12
Right.
parents,
Right.
the 12 students of Pineda, the parents of the 12 students have come forward since the media coverage. Parents who are upset that they had no idea that this man had abused other students allegedly. What do we say to them?
So I will say to all of the parents of Montgomery County Public Schools, the safety and security of our kids is our #1 priority. And I pledge to do whatever we can and whatever I can to ensure that every single day. Where we find there are processes, procedures, protocols where we need to improve, we will do so. Where we find that there's additional training that has to be done, we will do so. I absolutely pledge that to all of the parents in Montgomery County Public Schools. And these are, the recent incidents have said, you know what? We have to take a hard look. We will, and we will make sure that our schools continue to be safe and secure environments for all of our kids. Thank you.
Live coverage on News Channel 8. Montgomery County School Superintendent Joshua Starr has been holding a news conference to explain how child abuse allegations are handled. This after sexual abuse charges were made against a substitute teacher, Jose Pineda. 4 students from 3 middle schools say Pineda touched them inappropriately. Montgomery County Police are now investigating. We'll